I would feel the same way if I were you. Good evening, everyone. So on Tuesday, California Congressman Eric Swalwell resigned from Congress. Surprise, actually. As a result, Chinese flags were flown at half-mast. It's true the ex-congressman resigned after 5 women accused him of sexual misconduct, or as Bill Clinton calls it, gay. Just a heads up, if you see Swalwell with red, watery eyes, it's not because he's been crying about his resignation. It's because he's been sprayed with mace. But you can tell Eric is totally stressed out. Earlier today, for instance, he tried to have sex with a woman who was actually conscious. Swalwell vows, however, that he'll fight the most serious charges, saying it's a classic case of he said, she said, she said, she said, she said, and she said. The congressman is also being investigated for paying an illegal Brazilian nanny under the table with campaign funds. I know. When he heard about this, Bill Clinton asked, is she still under the table? And to add insult to injury, Swalwell has also been evicted from his friend's mansion, so he's now homeless and unemployed, making him relatable to most Californians. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she was unaware of Swalwell's reputation. Still, people are wondering, how did Nancy know to short her stock in chloroform? And finally, according to multiple reports, Eric Swalwell also sent pictures of his genitals to women. Although these photos were unsolicited, when one man heard about it, he said, "Send him my number." Just getting started. So Gavin Newsom set a date for a special election to replace Eric Swalwell, who resigned from Congress on Tuesday after multiple women accused him of sexual misconduct and rape. But Gavin? Talk about the blind leading the blind. I mean, one is a creepy dude you'd never leave your wife or daughter alone with, and the other is Eric Swalwell. But my heart goes out to Swalwell's future cellmate. Imagine getting stuck in a 6x8 room with that windbreaker. You'd be begging for the actual gas chamber. But the thing about Swalwell, he was hiding in plain sight. Because if you ever met him at a party, you'd run screaming. He was loud, arrogant, even smelling, an assault on all our senses. But just like the old saying, the stinky wheel gets the grease, and Swalwell's endless self-promotion gained him national attention. Still, how was he able to last this long? He's no evil mastermind, possessing neither the strategic qualities of a Pelosi or the sociopathic charm of Gavin, or even the well-manicured stubble of Rashida Tlaib. At his core, he's a buffoon, and yet he made it this far. Why is that? Seriously, after the spy scandal, he should have been sent to Sing Sing after playing Bang Bang with Fang Fang. You're telling me that the Dems couldn't find anyone better out of 8 billion people? What, was Bill Cosby busy? But the fact is, the Dems are willing to accept anything as long as it provides a service. And what was Eric's? He was a low-level henchman, told what to say, no matter how absurd, and he would. But like all hired goons that can't even bench press their body weight, they're cut loose the second they're in the way. Everyone tolerates him for now because he'll do anything for the syndicate. If only he'd kept to his own little patch of turf, though, okay with his grubby status. They probably would have left him alone and kept looking the other way. But once he wanted more, off he went. Remember, he ran for president, and his feeble campaign made Jeb Bush look like Alexander the Great. Remember when he told us he would be bold without the bull?
But I will always be real with you. I will be bold without the bull.
I will be bold without the bull. How many times did he practice that in front of a mirror? And his idea of bold would probably get most men a kick in the nads. But we know this type, the kind who grandstands for women as a cloak to abuse them and then projects his own sins onto others.
My Republican colleagues do not trust women. You don't trust women. Do you all ever talk to women? They deserve better. Trust women, my friends. Trust women.
Oh, we will. We will. It's like watching Ted Bundy in a commercial for an all-girls college. He's the classic male feminist who rattles off the popular positions while moving into position to grab a tit. It's a progressive pig pass. Any man claiming to be the great liberal defender of women does it to cover up his creepiness. From Ted Kennedy to Harvey Weinstein to Swalwell, it's like a hall of fame, but the plaques are restraining orders. Swalwell offered an extra layer of desperation, though. Remember when he challenged me to a weightlifting contest? That was something. Come on. The guy struggles to lift anything he hasn't roofied yet. No wonder he went on Kimmel to announce his campaign for governor, the farter and the crybaby. I hope they gave the audience protective gear with all those bodily emissions in the air. But since then, Kimmel has said nothing. Same with De Niro, Sean Penn, John Hamm, John Cryer, all gave to his campaign. Hell, Kathy Griffin gave him 10 grand. Money that should have been spent on a new face. So what's all this tell you? They knew. They all knew. Swalwell was everything the Dems claimed they despised, an arrogant, selfish white male who used his status to abuse women. But he checked the right boxes, said the right things, attacked the right people. But sadly, he got in the way. And when the Dems needed to clear the field, the machine kicked into action. So if anyone deserved the nickname useful idiot, it's him. Problem for Eric was his usefulness ran out way before his idiocy. Great ending. Period. Let's welcome tonight's guest. She was on the equestrian team in college. So everybody say, hey! Republican strategist and host of the podcast Party Lines, Aaron McGuire. He looks like the love child of Mark Cuban and a marshmallow, comedian Joe Mackey. He looks like the guy who shows up at an orgy with flowers. CEO and co-founder of the Federalist, Sean Davis. And she eats like a rabbit, always in the yard. New York Times bestselling author.
Wish I had a yard.
Aaron. It's always the guy who brands themselves as a spokesperson for women, telling Republicans, I bet you've never talked to a woman. Well, we've never talked to an unconscious woman.
Right, yeah, try to avoid those. It was very easy to see that Eric Swalwell was a creep and out of his depth. And I've seen a lot of reporters recently tweeting, oh, it was a known secret. Well, that's your job as a reporter to out that. I've also read in the New York Times that a part of Swalwell's fall from grace here was that he didn't really build a base of Democrat support in California before he got to D.C. And then I also read that one of Swalwell's falls was that he wasn't as progressive as he really tried to paint himself to be. No, I think Swalwell's fall was allegedly drugging women and having unconsensual sex with them. I believe that was that man's fall from grace here. Mm-hmm. And the media covered it up in D.C. And what we have seen happen, the allegations against this man are incredibly serious. And this is an institutional failure by Congress to protect Capitol Hill staff, to protect these young women in an instance where they all stand there and proclaim that they do. That all women should be believed, all victims, Me Too. That was all about the Democrats. But then in the moment when they need to stand up and actually hold someone to account, they all run away like they never even knew the guy in the first place. Because to your point, Eric Swalwell was the ultimate useful idiot for Democrats.
Yeah, he said the things no one else would say, Joe. You know, I hate the phrase open secret. It's a contradiction. It makes no sense. Apparently, there were rumors going around that Swalwell could be creepy, but that never stopped you from a career.
Oh, hardy har, Greg. I like that you're getting shirts at the towel store now. I think I used that shirt to wax my car. Look, Eric Swalwell said believe all women, which means he didn't want to give people the right to be judged in a court of law. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of a little bit of his own doing from that respect as well. And also, there's a whole bunch of other things that you mentioned in the monologue. The camouflage that male feminists use to be predators. That's why when I'm on dates, I will tell my date, you should never vote. That way she can trust me.
Yes.
And,
But
and
you're right.
yeah, I mean, they know I'm not a feminist by any stretch.
Yeah, but it says that you're not trying to schmooze them.
And I actually, it's not a restaurant. I made them cook. And lastly, a weightlifting contest by bench press is a terrible way to judge strength. I shine on the thigh abductor machine. I don't want to brag, but I could choke a pony with these quads.
Wow. That's amazing. You know, that's something you should talk about with strangers in an elevator.
Sorry about my quads.
Yeah, but the room in the elevator is pretty tight with you, me, and these quads. Sean, why do you think he got this far? He was protected?
Well, he clearly got there on the strength of his intellect. I mean, I think that's obvious to everyone. You look at that man and you're like, this is a Mensa member. I think Eric Swalwell proves that blackmail is the true currency of power in the Democrat Party, because he didn't get there because he was smart. He didn't get there because he was savvy or had some great strategic mind. He got where he was because they knew they could control him. This was a guy who was so stupid that he got honeypotted by Fang Fang, which let's pour one out for that poor lady. Can you imagine being the CCP spy and you get Swalwell?
Yes.
You draw that straw.
Oh, God.
Nobody should have to go through that. But no, they picked Swalwell because they could control him, because he was an idiot who would do whatever they wanted until he became a threat to Democrat power in California. It wasn't the raping, it wasn't the lying, it wasn't the spying that they got him for. His crime was putting the Democrat Party at risk in the state of California. And that's why they got rid of him. And that is shameful.
Yeah, it's... Kat, who do you think was behind this? I mean, is it Katie Porter, who has her own baggage, stinky, smelly baggage? Or was it that creepy billionaire, Tim Steyer? Who could it be? It's not Republicans. They want a split ticket.
Who knows? I mean, the first red flag, honestly, should have been that he's a grown-ass man with a Snapchat account.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? You're
Yeah.
like, what? If I'm sorry, if a grown-ass man's like, hey, let's talk on Snapchat, you call the police.
Yeah.
Like they're, you know, it's just, ugh. It's so gross, and it is always these guys, not always, but it often is these guys who overcompensate by being such loud feminists. He wouldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
He was like, I believe all women, I'm so much better than you who don't. Republicans are so bad. Meanwhile, he's just doing such disgusting stuff. I mean, I'm so glad to see him gone, and it's just crazy that he's even trying to defend himself at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there is that weird thing that Joe said, that he didn't believe in due process.
No.
But we have to give him due process.
Right.
You know, but it's kind of like, even when we give him due process, we don't really have to give him a good version of it.
But he set that standard for himself, and
Yeah.
he didn't even address that. He didn't even say,
Yeah.
listen, I understand that I'm asking you to do something for me that I didn't do for other people.
Yeah.
He's just saying, yeah, who hasn't made mistakes?
Yeah.
It's like, I think that actually the vast majority of people cannot even a little bit relate to what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even when he apologized to his wife, he was like talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's like, I'd like to say I'm sorry to my wife. We've all made mistakes. But he didn't say, like, I'm talking about the pictures of my penis, not, not the bad stuff.
And also, if you're doing an apology video for sexual misconduct, button up your shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you never know. Could have been a hot reporter. It might have been a hot reporter there. You had, you know, you don't.
He's sitting there in the cuck chair with an unbuttoned shirt.
Yep.
Kat, you don't make the shots you don't take. I learned that from Joe Mackey when he was my wingman. Remember those days, Joe?
Yeah, I used to say to women, Greg's great at sex, and they didn't get that I meant with women.
You were the one that said the Planet Fitness steam room was a real zoo. All right.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.